Helen Martinez was 73 years old, and her phone hadn't rung in 5 years. Not once. Not ever. She kept it charged anyway. Every night before bed, she plugged it into the wall, watched the battery icon turn green, and set it on her nightstand exactly 6 inches from the lamp. A ritual she couldn't explain and wouldn't stop. Her husband had died 5 years ago. Her son, 10 years before that. The few friends she'd had were gone, now, moved away, passed away, faded away. She had no one to call and no one who would call her, but she kept the phone charged. Her neighbors had asked her, "Why do you even carry a cell phone? Who would call you?" She didn't know, but she carried it anyway. In her purse, always. Ringer on, vibration on, waiting. 1,813 days. It never rang until 3 in the morning. She was asleep when it rang at 3 a.m. Maybe an hour into the shallow, restless sleep that had become normal. Light enough that any sound could wake her. Deep enough that she'd forget she was waiting for nothing in particular. The sound was so unexpected that for a moment she thought she'd dreamed it. Her phone hadn't rung since her husband died, since the few remaining people who might call her had stopped trying. She sat up in the darkness and stared at the nightstand, where the phone glowed. Unknown number. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. She almost didn't answer. Who calls at 3 in the morning? Probably a wrong number. Or a scam. She should let it ring, but something made her pick up. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe it was the fact that hearing another human voice, even a stranger's, even at 3 in the morning, was better than the silence. Hello? There was breathing on the other end. Someone was there. Then a young man's voice, shaking. Mom? Is that you? Helen's breath caught. I think you have the wrong number. No, the voice cracked. I know it's you. I can hear it. Your voice. I've been looking for you my whole life. Helen's son had died 10 years ago. This wasn't him. This was someone else. A stranger. A mistake. But the voice on the other end was crying now. Please don't hang up. Please. I've been searching for 30 years. The system made a mistake. They gave me the wrong information. But I know you're my mother. Helen sat in the dark with the phone pressed to her ear. For the first time in years, she wasn't sitting in silence. 10 years ago, when her son Michael died, Helen had still been working as a secretary at a law firm where she'd spent 35 years. She'd come in that morning, like always, made coffee, organized files. At 2 in the afternoon, the phone rang. Police. Traffic accident. Michael's car had collided with a truck. He died at the scene. Helen had slowly hung up the phone and looked around. K-workers typing, phones ringing, life continuing, as if nothing had changed. She stood up, took her purse, and quietly walked out. She never returned to that office. Michael was their only child. He was 32, unmarried, no children. He was everything to Helen and Robert. Her husband, Robert, never recovered after the accident. He spoke less, stopped laughing. 5 years later, he had a heart attack and was gone. After that, Helen lived by herself completely. The first few months, friends had called. How are you doing, Helen? Do you need anything? She'd politely declined. Then the calls became less frequent. Every 6 months, once a year, then nothing. Now, years later, the phone didn't ring anymore. Helen filled her days with routine. She woke at 7, made coffee, stared out the window, breakfast at 8, a walk to the grocery store at 9. Even if she didn't need anything, lunch at home, television on, but not really watching. Afternoons, she tried to read, but the pages turned and nothing stuck in her mind. Dinner at 6. By 7, the sky was darkening. By 8, she was preparing for bed. By 9, she was lying down but couldn't sleep. Until midnight, she stared at the ceiling. And every night before sleep, she charged her phone, placed it in the same spot, and waited. She didn't know what she was waiting for. At 3 in the morning when her phone rang, the man's voice was trembling. Please listen to me. I know this sounds crazy, but I grew up in a group home, East Cleveland. I was abandoned as a baby. I never had any information about my mother or father. Helen listened silently. Should she speak? Should she hang up? The man continued. When I turned 18, I started looking at my records. A social worker gave me a file. There was a name inside, your name, and a phone number. But when I called it, the number was disconnected. For 30 years, I tried that number. Every year. Nothing ever happened. I'm not your mother, Helen whispered. I know it looks that way, the man replied. But a week ago, a friend who was checking old records found the truth. There was an error in the system. The number they gave me was written wrong. One digit was different. I found your number tonight, and the moment I called, the moment I heard your voice, I knew. Knew what? Helen's heart was racing. That your voice was the right voice. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I've been waiting my whole life to hear this voice. Helen closed her eyes. This was madness. This man was a stranger. She didn't know him. Her son had died a decade ago, but the voice, it sounded lonely, broken. Helen understood that voice because her own had sounded that way for years. What's your name? She asked quietly. Daniel. Daniel Foster. How old are you, Daniel? 48. Helen calculated quickly. 48. Michael had been 32 when he died. Daniel was 16 years older. If Helen were Daniel's mother, she would have had him at 25. But at 25, Helen had been pregnant with Michael, not before. This didn't make sense. It couldn't be. Daniel, I can't be your mother. I had a son. His name was Michael. He died 10 years ago. You're not him. Silence on the other end. Then Daniel spoke again. His voice softer now. I know your son died. I researched you. I'm so sorry. Truly sorry. Helen hadn't expected this. You researched me? Yes. After I learned your name, Helen Martinez, Ohio. It was in the old files. I found the obituaries. Your husband's. Your son's. I'm so sorry. Helen's eyes filled with tears. This man, this stranger, had gathered information about her, learned her past. Why? Helen managed. Why are you calling me? I'm not your mother. The system must have made another mistake. Daniel took a deep breath. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not my biological mother. But I've been looking for a mother for 30 years. And yours is the first voice I've ever heard that feels like home, Helen cried. Quietly, in the darkness, with the phone. Daniel was crying too. Daniel, Helen whispered. I'm an old woman. 73 years old. I'm by myself. I'm tired. I'm not the mother you've imagined. I don't care, Daniel answered. I just want someone to remember me, to know that I matter to someone. Helen looked at her phone. The screen still glowed. The first call in so long. I don't even know you, she whispered. Maybe you can't, Daniel replied. But maybe we could start to know each other. A long silence followed. Helen looked out the window. A dark Ohio night. Cold December. No one outside. Where are you right now? Pittsburgh. About 2 hours away. What do you do? I work construction. I'm a contractor. Are you married? No, never was. Do you have children? No. Helen listened to the silence again. She could hear Daniel breathing. Daniel, she began. I don't want to disappoint you. You're looking for a family. I'm just an old woman living by herself. That's exactly who I need, Daniel replied gently. And maybe you need someone like me too. Helen closed her eyes. Was that true? Did she need anyone? She hadn't admitted needing anyone in so long. She'd lived by herself, managed everything on her own, but she charged her phone. Every night, she waited for something. Could I see you? Daniel ventured. Please, just once. If you don't want to see me again after that, I won't bother you anymore. Helen hesitated. This was crazy. Meeting a strange man who called in the middle of the night? It wasn't logical. It wasn't safe. But that voice, that lonely, broken voice. Okay, she whispered. But not right away. I need some time to think. As much time as you want, Daniel responded immediately. A week? 2 weeks? A few days. I need to think. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Helen. Helen heard her name from his mouth for the first time. It was strange. Foreign, but also, good night, Daniel. Good night, Mom. Helen hung up the phone and sat in the darkness. Her heart was still racing. After all this time, her phone had rung, and now she didn't know what to do. The next day, Helen hadn't slept at all. She got up at 7, made coffee, but couldn't drink it. She looked out the window. Snow was falling lightly. Her neighbor Margie knocked on the door at 9. Are you okay? I saw your light on at midnight last night. Helen opened the door. Margie was 65. Friendly, but sometimes too curious. I'm fine. Are you sure? Did you get sick? No, I just couldn't sleep. Margie looked concerned. Did something happen? Helen hesitated. Should she tell her? Could she tell Margie? The phone rang, she whispered. At 3 a.m, Margie's eyes widened. Your phone? Who was calling? A man, a stranger. I don't know him. A scammer? I don't know. Maybe. But I don't think so. Margie came inside and closed the door. Helen, what happened? Tell me. Helen sat down. Margie sat across from her. Helen told her everything. Daniel's search, the wrong number, 30 years of looking, him calling her mom. Margie listened carefully. Then she spoke. Helen, this could be dangerous. This man is a stranger. He could be trying to scam you. I know, Helen replied. I thought about that too, but his voice, it sounded genuine. Voices can always sound genuine. But this man could hurt you. Helen nodded. You're right, but Margie, my phone hasn't rung in years. No one has called me. And now someone called. Someone told me they needed me. Margie's face softened. I understand, but please be careful. If you're going to meet this man, meet in public, and let me know. I'll be there too, watching from a distance. Helen smiled weakly. Thank you, Margie. 3 days later, Helen texted Daniel. She was using her phone for something other than charging it for the first time in years. Saturday at noon, the cafe on Main Street. Daniel replied immediately. I'll be there. Thank you. When Saturday came, Helen had been getting ready since 8 a.m. She didn't know what to wear. She combed her hair, then messed it up. Should she wear makeup? She hadn't worn makeup in years. Finally, she put on a simple sweater and pants, pulled her hair back, and looked at herself in the mirror. She looked old, tired, but what could she do? At 11, she left the house. The cafe was a 10-minute walk. It was cold, but she walked. When she went inside, it was nearly empty, with just a few customers sitting in corners. Helen chose a table by the window and sat down to wait. At 12:30, the door opened and a tall man walked in. He looked to be in his late 40s with dark hair and olive skin, wearing construction worker clothes. Jeans, work boots, a thick jacket. He looked around, saw Helen, and stopped. Helen stopped breathing. Her heart was pounding. The man slowly approached. When he reached the table, he spoke, his voice low. Helen? Helen nodded. Daniel? Yes. He sat down and they looked at each other. Daniel's eyes were wet. Are you real? He whispered. Or am I imagining this? Helen smiled faintly. I'm real. Daniel wiped his eyes. I'm sorry, I've waited 30 years for this moment. I know. They sat in silence for a while, then Daniel spoke. You know, I always imagined this, finding my mother, what I would say, how I would feel, but now I'm sitting here, and I can't say anything. Helen understood. I don't know what to say either. I'm not your real son, Daniel continued. I know that. You were someone else's mother, and he died. I can't replace him. No, you can't, Helen agreed gently. Michael can never be replaced, but maybe there could be something new between us. A new kind of connection. Daniel's face brightened. Really? So, you'd want to see me again? Helen hesitated. Was this right? This man was a stranger. She didn't know him. Maybe Margie was right. Maybe it was dangerous, but that voice, that lonely, hopeful voice. Yes, she whispered. I'd like to see you again. Daniel smiled for the first time. And in that smile, Helen saw something, pure, childlike joy. The joy of someone who'd waited 30 years. They drank coffee and talked. Daniel told her about his days in the group home. It had been hard being the child nobody wanted. When he turned 18 and got out, he was on his own. He'd started working construction and slowly built his own business. Now he had a small company with a few workers. Helen told her story about Michael, about Robert, about the losses. Daniel listened without judging, just listened. 2 hours later, Helen stood up. I should go. Margie will worry. Who's Margie? My neighbor. She knows I'm here. She's worried about me. Daniel understood. She's right to be. I'm a stranger. You should be careful. They walked outside into the cold air. Daniel turned to her. "Can we see each other again?" Helen looked at him. He seemed tall and strong, but there was fragility in his eyes. "Yes. Next week. Same place. I'll be there." Helen walked home and found Margie waiting at the door. "How was it?" Margie pressed immediately. "Good. I think he's a good person." In the following weeks, Helen and Daniel met every Saturday, sometimes at the cafe, sometimes walking in the park, despite the cold. Daniel told Helen about his life, and Helen listened. One afternoon, Daniel ventured a question. "Could I see your home? I want to see where you live." Helen hesitated. Her house was small, filled with old furniture, but finally she agreed. When Daniel came, he looked around carefully. There were photos on the walls. Michael, Robert, old, happy days. "Is this Michael?" he questioned, pointing to a photo. "Yes." Daniel looked at it for a long time. "He was handsome. He looks like you." Helen smiled sadly. He looked more like his father. Daniel moved to another photo of young Helen and Robert on their wedding day. "You look so happy." "We were," Helen whispered. Daniel turned to her. "Helen, I'm not trying to replace your past. I'm just asking if I could have a place in your future." Helen's eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, you've given me hope. Something I haven't felt in so long. You've given me that too. You've given me a family." The weeks turned into months. Daniel began visiting regularly, sometimes coming to Helen's house, sometimes taking her out to dinner. Daniel fixed things around Helen's house. A leaky faucet, a loose doorknob. Helen cooked meals for Daniel and knitted him socks. One day, Margie commented, "He's like your son." "He's not Michael," Helen replied. "But maybe he's something else. Maybe a different kind of family." Then one Tuesday, Daniel didn't call. Helen waited all day, checking her phone repeatedly. Wednesday came and went. No call. By Thursday, Helen was worried. Had something happened? Had he changed his mind about her? Friday morning, Margie stopped by. "Have you heard from Daniel?" "No. It's been almost a week." "That's not like him. Should we be concerned?" Helen didn't know. She had Daniel's address but had never been there without an invitation. What if she went and he was fine, just busy? She'd look foolish. But what if something had happened? That evening, Helen's phone finally rang. Unknown number, but it wasn't Daniel's. "Is this Helen Martinez?" A woman's voice. "Yes, this is Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh. We have a Daniel Foster here. You're listed as his emergency contact." Helen's heart stopped. What happened? "He was in an accident at a construction site. He's okay, but he's been unconscious for 3 days. He just woke up this morning and asked us to call you." Helen grabbed her coat. "I'm coming. Tell him I'm coming." She called Margie, who drove her the 2 hours to Pittsburgh. When they arrived at the hospital, a nurse directed them to Daniel's room. He was lying in bed, his left arm in a cast, bandages wrapped around his head. When he saw Helen, his eyes filled with tears. "Mom," he whispered, "you came." Helen rushed to his bedside and took his good hand. "Of course I came. Why didn't you tell me you were hurt?" "I was unconscious. And when I woke up, I was scared you'd worry." "I was already worried when you didn't call." Daniel squeezed her hand. "I'm sorry I fell from scaffolding, but I'm okay. The doctors say I'll be fine in a few weeks." Helen stayed with Daniel for 3 days while he recovered. She brought him food, read to him, sat by his bedside. The nurses assumed she was his mother, and she didn't correct them. On the 3rd day, Daniel looked at her seriously. "Helen, I need to ask you something." "Ask. Can I start calling you Mom?" "Not officially. Just between us." Helen's heart stopped. Mom. No one had called her that in so long. "Are you sure?" she managed. "I'm not your real mother, Daniel." "I know. But maybe real mothers aren't just the people who give birth to you. Maybe real mothers are the people who accept you, who love you, who show up at the hospital when you're hurt." Helen cried. Daniel reached for her with his good arm, and she leaned into the embrace. "Yes," she whispered. "You can call me Mom." When Daniel was released from the hospital, Helen stayed in Pittsburgh for another week to help him. She cooked, cleaned, made sure he took his medication. It felt natural, necessary. It felt like being a mother again. One evening, as they sat on his small balcony, Daniel spoke quietly. "Helen, I've been thinking, when I'm fully recovered, Would you consider moving here? To Pittsburgh? We could find you a place nearby. Or, he hesitated. Or if you wanted, there's room here. I know it's small, but let me think about it, Helen interrupted gently. 2 months later, after Daniel had fully healed, Helen made her decision. She moved to Pittsburgh into a small apartment 3 blocks from Daniel's house. Close enough that they could see each other every day. Far enough that they both had independence. Margie called regularly. I miss you, but I'm glad to know you're happy. I am, Helen confirmed. Finally, on New Year's Eve, Daniel threw a small party and invited Helen. A few of his friends came over. Daniel introduced her to everyone. This is my mom, Helen. The friends smiled and welcomed her. One of them remarked, Daniel's talked about you so much. It's nice to finally meet you. That night, Daniel and Helen sat on the balcony, despite the cold. City lights sparkled below. Are you happy? Helen questioned. Yes. For the first time in my life, I'm truly happy. I have a family. Helen squeezed his hand. I'm happy too. As midnight approached, Daniel suggested, make a wish. For the new year, Helen closed her eyes. What could she wish for? She'd already found everything. A new sun, a new purpose, a new reason to wake up. What's your wish? Daniel smiled. That you'll always be in my life. That we'll have many more years together. Helen opened her eyes and looked at him. That's my wish too. A year later, Daniel gave Helen a gift. A small framed photo of them together in the park, smiling. Underneath, he'd written, my family. Helen cried. But this time, they were tears of happiness. That night, as she prepared for bed, she charged her phone out of habit. But she wasn't waiting for anything anymore. Wasn't hoping for something to happen, because it had already happened. That phone call at 3 a.m. had changed everything. It hadn't been a wrong number after all. Maybe it was fate, maybe coincidence, maybe just luck, but the result was the same. Helen had been a lonely 73-year-old woman with no one left in the world. Now she was a 74-year-old woman, with a son who called her mom, who showed up when she needed him, who'd turned a wrong number into a family. She placed the phone on the nightstand and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she slept peacefully.